Challanges. I welcome you, sir. Now, let us introduce our today's speaker. Let me introduce Mr. I.L. Narasimha, referred as Cyberlin, is a professional and a renowned cyber security expert and information security speaker committed to educating people on security threats and best practices. Presently, he is working as senior project manager at the Cyber Peace Foundation, a civil society organization. Earlier, he was the project manager at CDAC Hyderabad, spearheading the ISEA Information Security Education and Awareness Project by mighty Government of India. Sir is energetic, passionate, and soft nature. He has become a leading presenter by maximizing the impact of his security expertise through engaging presentations, auditing, and motivating lectures. Using live demonstrations showing how cyber criminals operate in the real world, Mr. Rao can involve and inspire an audience whether they are a group of tech wizards or average computer user. His passion to make cybersecurity accessible and interesting has led to many appearances, include giving multiple talks on a long list of national TV and radio programs. Over the past years, his focus has been on linking through educational departments, NCERT, CBSE, state and central government agencies, private sector for communication and outreach policy, in development of training programs on information cyber security awareness to all stakeholders. Having double master's degrees, MTech and MCA, Mr. Rao has nearly 23 plus years of teaching and training experience. He is on the advisory and technical boards of several academic institutions and has conducted many national and international events. He has several awards to his credit. He has conducted several workshops for police intelligence department, government officials, cyber cells investing police officers, engineering graduates, school students, teaching faculty, general public, security forces and information security and on latest technology. Once again, I welcome you, sir, for this wonderful session. Now I request Mr. I.L. Narasimha Rao to take over the presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm audible. Thank you for
Yes,
your.
sir. Perfect, sir.
Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Maybe it is loading, sir. Yes, sir. Now we can see.
Now you're able to see the screen. No, so please give me live feedback in case any audio or video disturbance is there.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Sure.
Very good afternoon. Very good afternoon to one and all. Thank you for inviting me for this particular lecture. In the next 120 minutes, I hope I'll be giving you more information, some new information that you are not aware of. And at the end, we can definitely take some question and answers for that. So let's start my presentation. Before I start, a small disclaimer to everyone, saying that the information which I'm going to provide here is only for the educational purpose, and the opinions, the thoughts that I'm going to present here will be only for my personal thoughts. Does not reflect to the organization of the company from where I work. Okay. So let us look at some of the pressing issues that we have with respect to cybersecurity. Yeah, you're able to see my screen. What do you find, sir?
Introduction cyber security, sir.
No, I just
First
change
one.
slide.
Yes, sir. Points to remember.
Remember. Points to remember. Thank you. So Dear friends, I think you are from different backgrounds. I just got the information and that you are from a heterogeneous group, right? So I'll be putting the information in the very, very basic sense so that everybody can be in line with me and you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. So please remember one thing, right? 100% cybersecurity is a myth. Please understand that if anybody comes and tells you that I am going to provide you the best cybersecurity solution, I will eradicate all the kind of cyber attacks completely from your organization and you will be 100% cyber secure, then it is a myth, because the way that the attacks are happening are exponentially increasing, and the design vectors, the attack vectors have been changing drastically. So any solution that has been today may not be sufficient for tomorrow. And please also understand that most of the organizations which has initiated this particular process of securing their critical infrastructure, securing their environment, right? Initially, they had this particular strategy like protect, detect, and respond, like protecting the complete infrastructure, detecting if any anomalies are found, and then trying to respond to that. But now, as you know, because of this, what you call the kind of attacks, now it has been, the strategy has been changed to respond, detect, and protect. Please remember this. And one good line which I always talk about whenever I take such kind of sessions is that anything which is smart is hackable. What is that? Anything which is smart is hackable, and anything that is connected to the internet is also remotely hackable. Anything which is smart is hackable. Anything that is connected to the internet is remotely hackable. So with this line, let's start our discussion in a different mode. Uh, so let me, I don't know when slides, it's taking slow. Yeah, right. We have seen the change in the technology, the improvements in the technology, starting from the ARPANET in the year 1969 to the kind of services that have been created. My God, and I mean, the advancement in the services, starting, I mean, the recent one is the video on demand that we see, plus to what we are now in 2020, we are talking about this IoT, Internet of Things. I think one session might be based on this IoT security and all in the other sessions. Now, we are talking about Internet of Things, which is part of our day-to-day life, where we have seen many devices getting connected to the internet. We have seen many things connecting to the internet, including your CCTV cameras. And the most important thing nowadays, everybody is having a smartphone, everybody is having a what you call a smart TV, I would say. And this smart TV is also susceptible to some kind of an attacks, which I'll also discuss in a later session. So we are talking about the advancements in the technologies that has really helped the humankind, but at the same time, the kind of attacks on the kind of infrastructure that has been developed and the technology that has developed is also increasing. And that's where such kind of FDP programs are very much required for you to understand what are the different research areas in which you can start working on, and also understand what kind of an attacks are happening and how we can mitigate them. And when we look at the right hand side of our figure, I'm talking about internet minute. That is in 60 seconds, how much data that we are creating, how much data that we are consuming, how much data that we are sharing, how much data that we are storing, right? Can you imagine the amount of data in this particular COVID times when everybody is connected to the internet virtually everywhere? Because I know that generally the FDPs are conducted face to face, where we'd be able to understand each other in a better way and understand what and what at depth we can say. But at the same time, we are just looking at this particular COVID, which has really opened up a lot of opportunities in a different model, right? Where people started working from home, started thinking about the security issues, talking about the kind of attacks that may happen and trying to mitigate them. And it has become a new norm now, where the complete education is happening online. And I was just reading the paper and what is the effect of COVID on the children. And I personally believe that it has impacted a lot, where the children are getting that knowledge on the internet, through the internet, but the major problem is that the overall growth of the particular person, of an individual, is not happening, and that is another big concern for us. And this particular figure on the right hand side talks about the consumption of the data that we are going to create, send, accumulate, assess, whatnot, right? So let's look at the internet in a different perspective. Now, I know that everybody knows what are the benefits of the internet and all that, but one question that always lingers in my mind is that how do you get the internet to India, right? Is there any satellite connections, or is it anything which is unique by which we are able to get the internet? And is there any possibility for the government of India to stop the internet also when any problem arises? So this particular slide talks about how the internet is accessible to India. And you can see on the left hand side, you have some kind of an internet submarine cable systems which have been created, which are the landing. There are certain 5 landing points in India by which you are able to get the internet. And the different landing points that we have is the Mumbai, Cochin, Trivandrum, right? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Please,
Yes, sir.
because
No
I'm
issues,
not
sir.
seeing the chat or anything like that, I'll be concentrating on my presentation. So please
Yes,
give
sir.
me feedback if any issues are there. Okay.
Right, sir.
How many
Right,
have
sir.
joined? How many have
Hello.
joined? How many have joined?
Yeah. So far, yes, sir. 23 have joined, sir.
Oh, out of 50.
Yes, sir. They'll be
So,
joining in a while,
so
sir.
right. Okay, so there are 5 different landing points in India where we talk about the Mumbai, Cochin, Trivandrum, Tuticorin, and Chennai, where Mumbai is having the maximum number of cable systems, the underground sea cables that are coming to India. I'm sorry, please switch off your mic, sir. A lot of disturbance is coming. Right. So when we talk about the control of the internet, definitely, as you have seen in the recent past in the Jammu and Kashmir, when that article was introduced and scrapped, and a new law has been put in hold, then automatically the complete internet was shut down. And there are other places like Delhi, Gujarat, Karnataka, West Bengal, Meghalaya, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, where the internet was shut down at a particular point of time when the law and order situation uh, uh, has been an issue. So the complete control on the internet or the internet connection can be done, but does anyone own this internet? As you know, nobody owns that internet, and there are certain rules. Definitely, yes, there are certain rules that we have to follow, right? But there are no rules for everybody. And as you know, the hackers and those crackers, they don't have any rules to follow on the internet. So it is always better we always follow such kind of rules, which I will also discuss later. Now, coming to this usage, definitely we know that when this Digital India was initiated by the government of India, we have seen that there is a lot of what I call shouting, humor, cry, saying that how is that? How will India be adapting this Digital India program? How will the people get use of internet? How people will are going to use the services that the government is going to offer on the internet? How can Digital India be successful? And if you see today, India is the second largest next to the China, and definitely in shortly we'll be on the top. And the second thing that I want to tell you very clearly is that as per the Internet and Mobile Association of India, we have seen that the increase of the internet usage has been more in the rural areas than in the urban areas, right? And because of this particular COVID time, definitely the increase has been exponential. And if you see the frequency of usage, definitely, yes, you can see that the first thing and the last thing that we do while wake up and when we go back to our bed is just watching our smartphone and connecting to the internet and checking our emails, and most probably checking our WhatsApp rather than our SMS. There's also one problem to that I'll discuss later. So apart from that, when you look at this particular Digital India campaign that was initiated by the government of India, we have seen that most of the rural people started using it. And let me tell you, friends, we should really thank Geo for that, because the Geo has really created that kind of a mindset among our people, has trapped that mindset that is there in our Indian people, where it has given free. And definitely you'll all will agree with me that whenever anything comes free, we'll never leave it, right? We always try to grab it. And that's what has happened, where more and more people started using the internet free, and they got addicted to it, and now they are paying for it, definitely. And the competition has really helped us, where the data rates have come down drastically. And one good thing that has happened to us is that the cost of the data usage, the cost of the internet access has come down drastically because of this competition, and the success of people accessing it. And definitely you will be having one question in your mind: did we really sensitize all these particular people? Did we really help them, train them with respect to usage of internet, usage of this? Nobody, right? Even though the government of India has initiated some common service centers through which there was some kind of a support given to the villagers in accessing the technology, in accessing the internet, in accessing the computers, to learn about computers and its data. But we have seen that most of the people have started on their own, learning on their own. Because why? Because the necessity is the mother of invention. And once they had the smartphone in their hand and the data, unlimited data or a limited data, whatever it is, they started using it, and they are the best in uploading and downloading the content, and it has become a reality now. So, and now another big question here is that, okay, we have seen that more and more people started using the internet, good, but are they aware of the kind of cyber threats which are happening? And that's where the big question mark is. Okay, so let us look at the net in a different way. Are you with me? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Are you able to see my video? My video.
Yes, sir. You can zoom it, sir. Better.
Yeah. What are you seeing now?
Just a blank one.
Okay, okay. I think you're not able to see my video, no?
Exactly.
My face. Okay. I think you have stopped that video option for me to switch
No,
on the
no,
video.
no, sir.
And why it is coming like this? Okay.
Sir, is the camera connected? Just check it, sir, once.
Yes, yes, it is connected. Right, now you can see my video.
Yes, sir.
Yes, what do you see on the screen?
Now, surface web, deep
Yeah, very
web, dark
wonderful.
web.
So let's look at the internet in a different way, right? So I know that everybody, when they want to search for anything, what you do is you just go to the Google, and Google is the mother of everything. We just type something over there, and you're going to get some lakhs and lakhs of pages. And you start data mining what is the information that is available with the search that you did. And there are also certain options which you can really use, where you can use something called as a what you call Google Docs, DORKS, Google Docs, by which you can filter out your search, right? Now, you will be surprised to know that array, when this particular Google search engine is able to give me this much amount of information, how much information it will be capturing, right? As you know, most of the Google, the search engine will be using some kind of a page ranking algorithm by which it will be putting the topmost page with a particular criteria as the top of the list, and we will be searching only the top of the list, including the sometimes the customer care numbers, fraud customer care numbers that are that we access. So here I'm talking about something which is astonishing for you, where I'm saying that whatever the search engines are going to provide to you, right, it is only 4% of the data that we are searching. Only 4% of the total internet that we see, right, we are going to get to this particular search engines. And this particular normal websites can be accessed only when we have this what you call the search engines over there, and these search engines will be indexing it, by which we are able to access them. Now what happens to the remaining 96% of the data that we talk about, right? And we are very happy with that 4%, right? Definitely yes. There are the other 96% of the data, right, that we see is in the deep web and the dark web, and that's where the area of research also will be there, and the faculty who are listening to my lecture can start working on this particular deep web and dark web as a take consider it as a research area, because there are a lot of requirements that are there for the law enforcement agencies also, which I'll discuss. So when we talk about this deep web, the deep web also contains lot of internet data, right? And it is secretly placed. And why it is secretly placed? Because until unless you know the URL properly, until and unless you know the URL properly, you cannot get that information. Okay, you cannot get that information. So please be very please understand this particular concept, that until unless you have the uniform resource locator, you will not be able to access that information which is there. And what information is available? We are talking about legal documents, we are talking about medical records, science journals, financial records, government resources, organizational repositories, whatnot, academic information, everything is available over there, right? But you have to know the proper URL, then only you'll be able to access, because there is no indexing mechanisms over there. Okay, now when you want to get that information, then you have to know the uniform resource locator, the exact URL, then only you'll be getting it. The other part of it, below this deep web, we are talking about the dark side of our internet, the dark side of the internet, which we call it as a dark web. So what does dark web contain? It contains lot of information which is illegal in nature. If you want to buy some weapons, right, it is available. If you want to do some crypto transact through cryptocurrency, yes, it is there. You want to do some illicit drugs, yes, it is there. You want some extremism, pornography, whatnot, child CSAM material, child sexual abuse material, whatnot, weapons, why not? You can have everything on the dark web. But here again, we need some specialized browsers to get it. And to get that, we require something, some browsers like a Tor, called as the Onion router. And once we have this particular the Onion router, you'll be able to access certain information which is sometimes, most of the times, is illegal in nature. And that's where most of the law enforcement agencies are also looking for some kind of a tools. They are looking for some kind of a tools, automated tools, by which they should be able to access this particular information and catch the culprits who are doing this illegal trades, right? And that's where the research concept, where you can start working on developing the tool, some kind of a crawlers which will go into the dark web, collect all that information, collecting all the dots. Because as I told you, here also we don't have any indexing, here also we don't have any what you call the anonymity will be there, which means that the IP addresses will be, and tracking this particular culprits on this particular dark web is very, very difficult, but not impossible. Very, very difficult, but not impossible. Already certain tools have been developed, and there is a lot of research going on, and that's where you can also help the law enforcement agencies. I think in the morning, Mr. Sahai might have discussed about all this. So what I would suggest, right, you also look into this particular as a research area, the dark web, the dark and the deep web. Okay, am I loud and clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Right, very good, thank you. Now, as you know, the Indian digital economy has been increasing, right? And India is becoming a digital country. Definitely, we are talking about what you call not cashless economy. We call it as a less cash economy, and we have seen that almost we are touching almost 520 million mobile users, smartphone users, and I definitely know that each one of you will be carrying more than one mobile with more than one SIM. And can you imagine the number of people who will be using such smartphones? So I think definitely we'll be on the top of the world. And when it comes to internet users, yes, we have crossed all the limits, and we are the largest digital market that is available. Talk about WhatsApp, Facebook, any social media chain. First, they will be looking at India as a very big market. And another big thing that you should always remember is that the cyber threats. Definitely, as you know, most of our Indian attitude is like this, the blue line that I've written. We think it will not happen to us. And that is the reason why the awareness is also very much required, and more victims are there. And you'll be surprised to know the amount of data that is data, as well as the privacy issues that are coming up. Now, we are talking about e-citizenship, we are talking about netizenship, right? Where we are seeing that most of the government organizations have implemented this e-governance facility where the ICT is used, and there is a lot of effectiveness and efficiency and transparency. And most important thing is accountability that is there, which is there. And one good example that I can talk about this ICT is getting your passport. I know, definitely know, you'll all agree with me, if you have got a passport of your own within 15 days or 1 week. Why? Because we are implementing it with the ICT, information and communication technologies, by which most of the government services are being offered. And we have seen many people not standing in the line and buying a ticket when we talk about IRCTC or any other mobile apps and other apps which have been created, which is for the facilitating for the people. And look at the government services. We have seen that the kind of governance has gone to the e-governance, where many facilities have been provided by the state government, national government, municipalities, locals, including the small mobile apps which has been created to register or complain within your vicinity. I hope everyone is using it, where there is definitely the transparency and effectiveness, where once you just register a complaint, automatically it goes to it. So we are talking about increase in the use of internet, increase in the use of mobile connections, by which they started using this particular e-citizenship, and most of the government services are being offered. And most important thing that we have is that it is possible because of the accessibility, less, or the cost of access can be reduced. Now, another big issue when this e-governance and other things comes into picture is that, can you imagine if any government entity is capturing your Aadhaar data, right? If the government entities are capturing your Aadhaar data, and for that matter, there are several issues that have come out, creeped up, saying that the Aadhaar data has been breached, this has happened, that has happened, right? And from the security point of view, as a security speaker, right, I really don't believe in that, because I've seen that the infringement has happened at those particular entities which were not having the proper security guidelines were not followed, and that is from a third party, not from the Aadhaar database. Okay, so e-governance applications, right? Most of the data and privacy protection, and I think no, the data protection bill has also been tabled in the parliament, and they are going to come out with a very stringent norms. And the mighty Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has come out with a what you call guidelines for the third party people who are collecting this particular data. Certain guidelines have been issued, so a lot of things are coming out, and we are now transforming from the less secure environment to a more secure environment, but it may not be sufficient. So when we look at the different measures that are required to ensure the data and privacy, we talk about network security, we talk about data security, we talk about application security, we talk about the business continuity planning, we talk about cloud security, where most of the organizations are using this particular or what you call leveraging this cloud security technologies, because sometimes the accessibility should be more, and sometimes the processing should be less. So based on that, they have started using it. We'll not talk about it, don't worry about it. So when we talk about this ICT, how ICT is being enabled and how ICT is driven this particular technology, by which we have to look into the cyber security issues. That's what my plan of giving you this presentation, where we are talking about ICT, where most of the organizations, most of the government agencies started using this ICT, because the exchange of information between the citizens, businesses, and other government departments is seamless, right? And there is a faster way in which we are able to communicate the public services and effective ways of delivering the public services. We have seen that it has reduced our cost and increased the revenues of the government, and there is also a direct transfer that is being done once we are connected to it, and improving in internet efficiency has also increased, and restructuring has been done, and that's where we are looking at the quality of service that has been really improved. And that's, we have to look at the ICT, where the ICT becomes one of the key role for the government and the services to be offered, where a faster, better communication happens, processing of data becomes very easy, we have an efficient storage and retrieval mechanisms, we have the efficient utilization of information, and the integration of services. And I think all of you are from the Karnataka and other places, definitely you might have seen that most of the integration or where the departments were elite to each other, there's no connectivity. Now this ICT has really bring down that gap and started connecting the departments, and you can just go as a single window system for multiple services to be offered, and that's where the success is going to come by the using the ICT. Now, let us look at from a different angle. I know we have a different heterogeneous group of people joining here. Sir, how many are there right now? Hello.
Sir, 33 are there, sir.
Very good, very good. So we right. So let us look at this particular thing. Right. I know we are having a very heterogeneous group of people. So let us look at from the basics of what is this data, what is this information, how is information security different from cyber security, how network security is different from IT security, and so on. So that at least once you have this information like what is what, right, you should be able to differ from what it is not, right? And whenever any third party person comes and tells you that we are going to provide you this and that, you should be able to really understand what he is going to say. So we have seen that where the data and information, I think most of your professors, I need not talk about it. So when we look at the data from a different angle, we have to see that how we are going to store that particular data, and how that particular data, the facts and figures are going to give us some meaning to that, or meaning to the person who has stored it, which becomes the information. And the sometimes they say that the process data is called as information, whatever it is, right? And we have to look at from the data in a different perspective. How? Let us see this. As you know, when you look at the data, like for example, if you are from a government entity or if you are from a college, you know what data needs to be stored, what need where you have to store it and how you have to store it. But when it comes to the e-governance, right, where the governments and the state governments and the local governments are collecting that particular data, then you have to take care of lot of information which is required there, and that's where we
Yes,
have.
sir. Sorry for
Hello.
the interruption, sir. So
Yeah.
there is a pop-up on your screen, sir, like sharing, stop sharing, hide. So just click on hide button, sir.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, that particular pop-up is coming on your screen, sir.
Which option, my dear?
No, no, sir. Better go back to the screen, sir, once again.
Right, I'm again sharing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please.
Okay. You could have told me before, no?
No, no, no. Just it has come little late afterwards, I think so.
Right. What
There.
you are able to see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There, you can see Microsoft Teams. Teams.com is sharing your screen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's correct. Thank you, sir.
You could have just told me to hide that
Yes, sir.
notification.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, right. No issues. Right. How many are there now?
33, sir.
Okay, very good. So let us look at the data class.
35. Now it is 35, sir. 35.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay.
Right, thank you. So let us look at the data, how you are going to classify the data. Now, as you know that when you are maintaining some big databases or data centers, right, for managing your data, first of all, you have to look at how you are going to structure them, how you are going to organize this unstructured data, how you are going to categorize them. And that's very, very important over here, because we know that some data is meant for public, some data is meant for internet, some data is confidential, some data is restricted, and based on that we have to go for the data classification. And once you have this particular data classification properly done, right, then definitely you can just look at the kind of measures that are required for safeguarding your data. Are you getting it? So when you talk about public, we are saying that the data can be made public and can be freely disclosed, like marketing material, company contact details, price list, whatnot. And when it comes to internal, we are talking about data that is only meant for internal purposes, where we should or not share it to outside, and something like a sales reports, organizational charts, traffic numbers, with some examples. When it talk about the confidential data, we are talking about moderate sensitive information, where it should not be shared with everyone, including internally, but it should be done with only some authorized individuals which are within our organization, like vendor contracts, some kind of attender data, employee salaries, because as you know, most of the HRs will be knowing the employee salary, not all the people, and only the top management will be knowing about the employee salaries, which is confidential. Okay, I'm really sorry, I'm talking about salaries in this COVID time, but then let us also talk about the restricted data. When we talk about restricted data, highly sensitive corporate and customer data is also very, very important. So that's where we are not going to share that information to anyone, and only the top management, like the financial records and other things, will be done with the only the finance officer or with the top management. So that's how we have to classify it. And why we have to do this data classification process, because we have to identify the different kinds of sensitive files which are there, how we can secure this particular digital data, how you can track those particular data, how you can know who is accessing what, how to identify the duplicate data and remove it, discovering the trends which are there inside the data, and trying to use some kind of a search, optimizing the search capabilities by which we can retrieve the data in the best way possible. And as you know, for this, there is no standard methods that are generally followed. Each organization will be having a different methodology for the data classification. But here we are introducing something called as PDCA. We call it as a plan, do, check, and act. And this is wonderful mechanism by which you are going to plan your data, then you are going to do the classification of that, then you will do the review of it, then you reclassify the data. So it's a circular process, where the continuous process, where you will be able to cleaning the data and categorizing them based upon your proper relevance. And successful data classification is one of these are some of the best practices that are generally followed, where we're going to define the different classification process, right? We are going to categorize the particular data types. We are going to look at whether we are going to adopt the GDPR, called as the General Data Protection Regulation, which is a European standard, or the European standard, or establishing what kind of levels of categories that you want to have. Then define the automated classification process, try to categorize them and classify which you have classified it. Then you will try to find out what is the best way that you can store them and process them, and use some kind of an analytics by which you can do it. And another most important thing, step that we always follow here, is the monitoring and maintaining, where we are trying to review the classification process as per our business regulations and the new regulations that are there. Now, as you know, in most of the organizations, and whether it's a government or anywhere, we are trying to create some kind of a frameworks for that, and the framework always defines what needs to be done. It will not talk about how it needs to be done, isn't it? What needs to be done. So that's where the information security assurance framework is very much required for any organization, whether it's an e-governments or whatever it is, right? And we have seen that the following core domains, right, should be covered within our framework, where the domains with respect to information security policies, what kind of policies are you going to implement, what is the organization's information security what you call plan, what, how can the human resources can be managed, how asset management, access control, which cryptography you're going to use. Yes, sir, any problem? How you are going to identify the incident, and how you are going to manage it, then how you are going to what you call take care of the relationships with the third parties, how the system acquisition, development, and maintenance can be done. So all these are some of the particular domains that you have to look into while you're defining your framework for your specific organization. Now, again, turning back to our basics, I was talking about information security. I was using the words like cyber security, IT security, and network security. Now, what is the difference that we have? And that's very, very important over here, because when we are looking as an information security professional, as a cyber security professional, as a IT and network security, their roles will be completely different. And that's where, if we are looking at the top management, I would say there should be the information security specialist, where the protection of information and information systems from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. And why we have to protect them? Because we have to use a model called as CIA, which I'll also discuss after this slide. So we are trying to protect the complete information, which is an asset of the particular organization. It can be a digital asset or it can be a hardware or hard copy asset. But when it comes to cyber security is about securing the things which are vulnerable through the information and communication technology, right? And we should be able to protect our data, right, from unauthorized electronic access. But when it comes to IT security, right, okay, before going to IT security, network security, let me give you a slight difference which is there between information security and cyber. Many of them will be using it as a synonym, but it's not so, right? When you talk about information security, suppose for example, the government has issued some GO, right, and that GO has to be uh, um, uploaded onto our website. So a hard copy of the GO has come to you through post. Now, what you're going to do, you are going to scan that hard copy and then upload it as a PDF file onto your source, which are send it through your email to all the people. Now, the point here is now which information has to be secured here? The hard copy of the information as well as the soft copy of the information has to be secured, and that's where the information security always deals with both hard copy as well as the soft copy of the information. But when it comes to cybersecurity, the cybersecurity deals with only digital information, the soft copies, and it should provide protection from unauthorized electronic access. And that's the difference between information security and cybersecurity. When it comes to IT security, network security, these are technical functions. IT security deals with protecting of computer systems and networks so that there is no theft, there is no damage. Damage to what? The hardware, the software, the data that is being there, and they should see that there is no interruption of services to be done. But when it comes to network security, we are trying to identify certain policies. We are trying to identify some kind of a practices. Why? Because we are going to see that my network and my network resources are completely available for the authorized users, and I should protecting from unauthorized access, misuse, modification, or denial of a computer network. Please understand this. So I'll just show you with another figure so that you can understand which is part of which domain. Information security is the largest domain that we have, the top level domain, where we are talking about people, ethics, processes, professional issues, risk management, network security, everything comes under the information security. Under this information security domain, we are having this computer security or cyber security. Now, in computer security, cyber security, we are talking about different types of threats, which are also discussed. Don't worry about it. The next is the system security, which is part of our cyber security. Network security is part of system security. So, information security domain means which include cyber security, computer security, system security, network security. Everything comes under the information security domain. And when it comes to computer security or cyber security, it has only two subdomains: network security and system security. Now, it will be very easy for us to understand the when we make a comparisons between them, right? As you know, information security always deals with both hard copy of the information, the physical information, as well as the digital information, but cyber security deals with only the digital information. Okay, the second difference that we find here is that we are trying to protect the data from any kind of a illegal access in information security, but in cyber security only digital access. We are trying to protect only the digital access, right? Next, when we talk about unauthorized access, we are saying to protect that complete information. But here we are trying to protect our information from the digital crimes that may happen, which we call as cyber crimes or cyber fraud, right? By which we are trying to take the help of law enforcement to implement it or identify where the fraud has happened. Next, in information security, we try to focus on the assets. The same way here we are talking about focusing on the personal details as well as the social media accounts, which comes under the cyber security. Okay. Now in information security, what we generally do is that these professionals will be trying to find out certain strategies, trying to find some policies, trying to find some kind of risk management and so on. But in cyber security, we are trying to do the professionals will be trying to concentrate more on the personal data recovery, reporting on security metrics, installing some anti-malware and anti what you call ransomware softwares to secure our system. Okay. Now let us look at from a different point of view. What is this IT security area? Because I know most of you will be trying to. There are some, I think, industry persons also who are looking into the career into this particular domain. And as you know, India has needs a lot of capacity building with respect to this information and cyber security, and that's where we have to understand what is the main differences that we have between the information security and IT security. When we talk about information security, we call it as a strategic area where the top management is going to look at the policies, which are looking at the frameworks, what kind of security frameworks that we are going to use, how we are going to implement the security procedures, what kind of business continuity model you are going to have. Are you going to what you call adapt the ISMS strategies, like information security management systems strategies? What should be your data privacy issues? What are the best practices that you are following? How you can reduce that risk, and how you are going to analyze that particular risk? What is the regulatory compliance? How you are going to implement your organizational perspective, and what should be the strategies that you will be applying for this crisis management? And all this comes under the information security, which comes under the strategic area. And one good what you call a benchmark for every one of you to understand is you can just go through this ISMS 27001 policy, which will really help you to really map to what you are and what you need to be, right? So this is the ISMS standard will always help you, 27001. But when it comes to the IT security area, we are trying to identify some kind of a solutions for our digital data or some kind of cyber attacks. And that's where you are looking at what kind of firewalls that you're going to implement, how you're going to do the incident response, what kind of a hardening is required, how we are going to do the scan of all the ports and other things which you have some vulnerability, how the penetration testing can happen, how access control will be done, how system security, network security has to be implemented, right? What kind of a code analysis that you're going to do to check whether everything is perfect or not, what are the data loss prevention tools that you're going to use. So the IT security becomes a very technical area for all of you to understand. And when it comes to network security, we are talking about only the networking, only those particular computers, the networks, and to see that unauthorized access will not be there. And apart from that, we'll also look into the network security where I'm trying to what you call I would say, protect the identities and the passwords, right? Have some kind of a backup mechanism, use some kind of an encryption, right, within our network so that the data that is being transferred will be secure enough. And this part comes under the network security part. Now, many of us will be having a confusion what is this security and privacy, right? And please remember that security can be achieved without privacy. Security can be achieved without privacy, but privacy cannot be achieved without security. Please understand that. Now, what does security indicates and what does privacy indicates? When you look at privacy, privacy is related to personal information. Privacy is related to sensitive information. Privacy is related to the sensitive information of the individuals, sensitive information of the organizations, where we have our Aadhaar card numbers, the login details, financial records, all this comes under the privacy part. But when it comes to the security, we are trying to protect the complete system from unauthorized access. We are trying to, whatever be the type of data, whatever be the type of information which we are storing electronically, we are trying to protect them. Okay, so that is the difference between the security and privacy that we have. Now, so let us look at how these organizations are going to implement this security. And any framework, any organization which wants to start working on it, they have to look at this particular CIA model called as confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So, what do you mean by confidentiality? Yes, anything that we have stored our data, it should not be accessible to any unauthorized person. Very good. Now, how we are going to implement this confidentiality? There are certain tools by which you are going to prevent this unauthorized access. Okay, we'll also discuss that. When we talk about integrity, integrity means accuracy, so that whenever we are transferring our messages, whenever we are communicating within our clients, we should be see that the message should not be modified by our attackers. So for implementing the integrity, there are certain tools that needs to be used. So this particular security model also has one thing called as availability. That is, you have provided very good networks, very good systems, very good everything servers, right? So that the people should be able to access it. But if it is going to be interrupted, what happens? So that's where the availability is also very much required. And the availability talks about how your network is going to perform, right? When if some intrusion is going to happen, and how it is going to perform when some attack is going to happen, so that there is no interruption of the resources which are meant for the authorized users. And this we call it as a CIA, called as confidentiality, integrity, and availability security model that needs to be there. Now, there are certain cyber experts who are also going to talk about one extension to this particular CA model. What is that extension to this CA model? They are saying that traceability should also be there, which means that yes, our systems are now going to be attacked. Very good. Now, once they are attacked, should also identify and sort out from where the attack has happened, what has happened to our system. That's where we are talking about traceability, right? But for the time being, you can just look at this particular CIA as one fundamental model, security model that is being used by the organizations. Okay. Now, okay, we'll just take a quick break if you don't mind. Hello. Is there any break given to the people, sir, in between? Hello.
Sir, actually no break, sir.
Okay.
Actually
Okay.
no
We'll
break. Continuously
oh,
2 hours session is there.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll just take a 5 minutes break.
Yeah, no
And,
problem, sir.
just 5 minutes because I have to
Okay.
make an
Okay.
important call.
Yeah, no
And
problem, sir. No problem.
I hope the speed is okay with everyone. Am I going very fast? Am I going very slow? Hello.
Participants can tell.
Yeah, yeah. One of you can open your mic. Hello.
Yeah, sir. We have given access to unmute, sir, for the participants.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, any participants, if you have any problem with my language and all, you can speak. You are able to follow.
No, sir, it's perfect.
You are able to understand each and every point that I'm making.
Yes, sir. Everything is going perfect.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Did I stop sharing? Hello.
Yeah, yeah, sir. No, we can't see anything.
Okay, okay. Just give me
3 o'clock. We can be back at 3.
Dear participants, so we'll resume the session at 3 o'clock.
Okay, everyone is back.
Yes, sir. All are
Wonderful.
there.
Yes. Right. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Which one do you see, sir?
Cyber security framework.
Wonderful. So, okay. Now, let us look at how that framework, what should be our cybersecurity framework, right? For any organization, for that matter, we have to have certain cycle. One is called as the identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So in the identifying phase, we have to look at what kind of an asset management that you are doing. We have just discussed about what should be the data, how classification of the data, because the classification of the data always helps us in how we can secure it and what kind of measures that can be taken to secure it and what should be our business environment and how what would be the risk assessment that will be there and how the risk management strategy should be there with respect to the kind of business environment that we are in. Then comes the protect, right? Protecting our data from access from unauthorized people, access from insiders also. That's where the access control list has to be defined. What kind of a training you are going to impart for the people within your organization and whoever is outside accessing your information from your organization. What kind of data security policies that you will be implementing it? What kind of protection that you will be doing for your processes and procedures that you have to implement to protect your information. What kind of preventive technologies that you're going to use will be part of a protect cycle. Now, when it comes to the detecting phase means definitely we know that some kind of an attacks will happen, and the attacks can happen through different modes, and that's where you have to try to identify the anomalies which are there, and these anomalies are going to help us to identify that are there the legal events or illegal events, right? And that's where we have to verify them at a whole and then try to find out some kind of a monitoring tools by which the security can be monitored continuously, and then we'll try to use some kind of a tools by which the detection can also be done with a kind of those anomalies or any kind of attacks are happening and what kind of attacks are happening, what data is being breached, and so on. And when it comes to the next phase, which is called as response phase, we are going to talk about how we are going to respond, right? How you are going to respond to the kind of such attacks, what kind of a planning mechanisms process that you have, how you are going to communicate to the top management and the concerned stakeholders, how you are going to analyze it, how you are going to mitigate it, how you are going to improve it from the earlier state. And when it comes to next phase, which is called as the recover, we are trying to talk about how you are going to plan to the recovery of this particular failures, that if some attack has happened, what would be your window by which you can get back to your system to the normal stage, what kind of an improvements that you can do by which that kind of same kind of an attacks or the same process, same thing will not recur again, and what kind of a communications that you will be following. All this comes under the cybersecurity framework. As I was telling you, the framework always talks about what needs to be done. It will not talk about how it has to be done. How is again a technical issue, right? Now, let us look at the cyber threats in a different angle. Now, we have seen that I told you that the cyber threats are common. Cyber threats will be there. Are there yesterday, are going to be there today, and they will going to be there tomorrow. So, what kind of a cyber threats would be there on the different thing? That's where I have categorized them at the national level cyber threats, organizational cyber threats, and the individual level cyber threats. When it comes to the national level cyber threats, definitely we have seen the cyber terrorism, which is increasing a lot, where people are not attacking through land, sea, and water, but now they are attacking through the information highways. And we have seen several cases where the web defacements are happening a lot. And if a web defacement happens to a government entity, how much what you call how much trust will be lost. Yeah, please understand that. And the attack on the critical infrastructures are also increasing, and that's where we should always be very particular, because they are, if any of our critical infrastructure of the government of India has been sabotaged, can you imagine the kind of danger that we are in, right? So the attacks on critical infrastructure is increasing, and definitely there are cases where the malicious code are being spread through the internet, and we have seen many cases where the DOS and DDoS attacks are increasing, denial of service attacks and distributed denial of service attacks. Cyber espionage is also increasing at the national level. Now, when it comes to the cyber threats which are meant for the organization level, right, we have seen that the web defacement is also part of our story, where we are seeing the malicious code being sent. There are some kind of ransomware attacks happening. Domain stalking is also happening, where there are fake what they call websites being created, right, where the phishing is also being done, that targeting attacks with insider attacks is also part, and financial frauds which can come through different modes, right? And I will also discuss that when we talk about cyber crimes. Then we talk about at the individual level. Definitely yes, through the individual, right, we have seen that social engineering attacks have been increasing, the email hacking and misuse has been increasing a lot, and in this particular COVID times, your inbox is filled with such kind of a spam that you cannot we can never imagine. And identity theft is also a part of our day, where the identity of an individual is captured with or without our consent, and it is used for some kind of a financial gains. Financial scams are increasing, abuses through emails are increasing, social networking sites, social networking becoming more abusive, right? And then another important thing that we always forget is what happens if our mobile theft happens, what happens with our laptop theft happens, right? And that's also another big individual concern, because your complete life data is there in your mobile as well as for your laptop. Okay, so what we have to do here, we have to have a change in the mindset, and the change in the mindset always talks about, earlier we were talking about prevention, right? Now we have to look at from a different perspective, which is detection and responding to that. Second, every organization thinks that it is a cost. The cost is going to increase for implementing the security, but the top management has to think that it is not a cost, right? It is an investment, investment for their future, investment for the trust, investment and for the future of that particular organization. And when you talk about deterrent, we are talking about, and it has to be converted into enabler. And many of us will always think that, okay, security, it's not my cup of tea. It is the headache of the IT department. It is the headache of the IT people who are managing this infrastructure. It is not my responsibility. Please understand that security, right, is integral to the information technology, and it is everyone's responsibility. You cannot say that since I am a user, I'm not aware of that, because I was talking about the training that needs to be done, right? Now, you may have the best of the processes, right? You may have the best of the products and tools and automation as part of your technology, but where is the weakest link? It is the people. In your organization, you may be having the best skills and roles and responsibilities for every individual, but what happens if the people are the weakest link? If I take a simple example, an analogy to this particular figure, you know that the banking system is foolproof. You know that the banking system is having the best processes and the best technology that they're implementing, where they're providing the best security features for the banking systems, for for the what you call the cash and the amount that you are kept in your bank accounts and all, and they are taking care of it. But when what happens when some fraudsters are trying to call you and collect your OTP and your money is lost from that secure system, which has the best process and technology? And that's where I'm talking about people, which are going to be the weakest links over there. Okay. Now, let us look at what is the risk. What do you mean by threat? What do you mean by vulnerability? I know that every one of you will be confused with this. Threat is nothing but threat is different, vulnerability is different, risk is different. So here I'm giving you a simple equation for you to understand. Risk is nothing but threat into vulnerabilities. Right. So what is a risk? A risk is nothing but the potential for loss, the potential for or damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability. Once a threat exploits a vulnerability. But what is a threat? A threat is nothing but a new incident, right, that has potential to harm the system. A new incident which has the potential to harm the system. But what is vulnerability? Vulnerability is nothing but it is a weakness, right? A known weakness within that particular system, within your particular asset, which a hacker is going to try to exploit, right? Now, many of you will be thinking, sir, is hacking a good thing or a bad thing? Right. So is hacking a good thing or bad thing? Definitely it will be a doubt, right? And what is this ethical hacking? What is this unethical hacking? How these hackers are trying to enter into our system? All these are some of the basic questions that will be coming into those particular people who are not totally with the IT. Definitely, you please remember that when we look at the hacking, we can consider them as two types. One is ethical and unethical. Ethical hacking means where I take your permission to enter into your system to identify the problems that are there within your system and give you a report to fix it, so that no other unethical hacker will be able to enter into your system and exploit you. But when it comes to unethical hacking talks about how people are trying to enter into your system without your permission. They steal your data and they cause a problem for your reputation. And that's where it becomes a big risk. And that is nothing but identifying your vulnerabilities. So an ethical hacker tries to identify all the vulnerabilities within your system, where he talks about the different coding practices that you use, what kind of human errors that may happen, what kind of legacy systems that you are using, because migrating from legacy systems to the new system is again a big issue. What kind of hardware flaws are there? Are you employing some kind of an secure operating system practices, right? What kind of a software bugs which are there? All this comes under the vulnerabilities, and these unethical hackers try to use these particular software bugs, try to use that particular vulnerabilities to attack your system, which becomes a risk. And when it comes to the threats can be from different people, right? It can be from insiders, where the angry employees are not happy with what they are doing or what the organization is giving, and they'll try to attack the organization by sending some sensitive information outside, right? Dishonest employees are also part of it. And we also have some competitors which are trying to use this particular people to attack the present organizations. And there may be some criminals, right? There may be some criminals who are part of it, which we talk about, the unethical hackers trying into your system and disrupting the resources, disturbing your day-to-day activities, and also sometimes some calamities, which may be one of the threats. But when it comes to the risk, please understand that you have to reduce your risk. How you can reduce your risk? By increasing your capability. And now I'm going to give you a beautiful definition by which you can reduce the risk, which we call as risk is equal to threat into vulnerabilities divided by capabilities. Risk is nothing but threat into vulnerabilities divided by the capabilities. If you are increasing your capability, definitely you're going to reduce your risk. If you are not increasing your capabilities and you are going to use the same old methods, then definitely the risk is also going to increase. So please keep this in mind, that we are trying to reduce that particular risk. Why we have to reduce the risk? I'll talk about it here. As you can see on the left hand side on the blue bar, you see the different kinds of threats, right? Now, am I audible loud and clear, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I going very fast? Is it okay with everyone? One of you can on your mic, because it's a webinar. I cannot see your faces and you cannot. Yeah, any one of you?
I think it's okay, sir. All are replying in the chat.
Okay, they are typing Y in the chat. Very good. If you type Y in the chat, which means that you are following what I'm saying.
Yes.
Well, that's one advantage and disadvantage, right? As we talk about the digital technologies, we always feel that sitting at home, we are able to get everything from the world. At the same time, we also have a problem where we are not able to see
Mm.
our faces. Okay, thank you. Switch off your mic, sir. Lot of disturbance coming. Yeah. Coming to threats. Now, from each one of them that I show you on the left hand side is one research area for you, right? There are a lot of research that is going on to identify the kind of ransomwares that have been attacking, right? And the variant of the ransomwares that are there. We are talking about spywares which have been increasing. I know you might have heard that the government of India has also given you certain guidelines whenever you want to procure some kind of an electronic equipment from the outside India. And as you know, the manufacturing of the electronic industry has picked up in India, but it has not picked up to the level in which the consumption is being done. And we have seen that the spywares are also into are part of our those particular devices. And there are also a lot of issues with respect to the backdoor entries, eavesdropping, keyloggers, logic bombs. And one beautiful example of a logic bomb that we can talk about is that, suppose, let us say, there was a very big company which was manufacturing some washing machines. Okay, a big company which was manufacturing the washing machine, and that washing machine warranty is for 2 years. That washing machine company has given warranty for the 2 years as a gift to their customers who buy that particular washing machine. But that particular washing machine will work exactly for 2 years and 2 months after it is on. Okay, that is the washing machine will exactly work for 2 years and 2 months, and then it will stop working. Why? When they have analyzed what is the problem, why these much problems are coming with this same kind of model washing machine, they have found that there was some logic bomb that was created and embedded within that particular IC, where it just stops working after 2 years and 2 months from the start of the machine. Now tell me, how many devices are there at our home? How many devices are being manufactured in our country? Do we require some kind of an cyber security professionals who are good at identifying this particular embedded software, identify what are the vulnerabilities which are there within that particular software that has been created, right? And that's where you can just look into the magnitude of opportunities that are there in the cybersecurity domain. Next, we are talking about the attacks which are happening through denial of service and distributed denial of service. Denial of service is very simple, where if I have a server and the server has a limitation on the number of users it can connect and the number of users it can respond to, or the request it can respond to. And if I am going to bombard that particular server with more than the request it can accept per second, then automatically the server will be accepting those requests from unauthorized users, but it will not be able to help the authorized users. And that's where the denial of service happens. And if these requests are coming from different locations, then we call it as a distributed denial of service attack, right? So these are the different threats that are there. Now, what are the systems which are at risk? right? I will not go into the each and everything that is there, but when we talk about the kind of risk, the risk can be there for any critical system that we have. It can be our financial system, the banking systems, it can be aviation, it can be automobiles, it can be government entities, it can be a lot of things. It can be on the medical systems, energy sectors. You might have heard in the newspapers and all that there is a lot of attacks that are happening on the hospitals and capturing the patient's data, and they are being sold in the dark web when that particular organization is not paying back that particular money. And there are certain instances where the ransomware attacks have happened in such a way that the complete data within that organization is encrypted, and until unless the money is paid in the form of a cryptocurrency, which is bitcoins, you are not going to get back that particular data. And many times they have seen that even though they paid the money, they don't get back the decryption key by which they can decrypt the encrypted data that is done through this particular ransomware. So all these are issues which are there. And can you imagine if these particular critical systems are at risk because of all these particular threats that are there? Now, what should be our countermeasures for that matter? And when we talk about the countermeasures, the first and foremost thing is the security should be in our mind whenever we start designing our systems, right? The security should be in our mind when we start designing the architecture for our systems. And we have to also look at what kind of secure coding practices that are required for designing it. I know there are the systems are elite, the departments are elite. We have a different coders and programmers sitting at a different place. We have different administrators for integrating that particular system, and there are different users who use the system, or the testers who test the system. So all these are different entities. Now we have to combine them into as a one entity and look in holistically and try to identify what kind of a secure coding practices that are they doing it, what kind of a testing mechanism that you have, what kind of a vulnerability management that you have, how you are going to hardening your software, hardening your um, systems, right? What kind of an training that you're going to do, give for those particular people who are using your system, how you are going to respond to that particular breaches which are there, how you are going to provide the security, right? How you are going to manage the privacy of of the organization, how you are going to do the digital hygiene. That is how we are going to train all these particular people, conduct this awareness programs for all the people, how to use that particular system, what they should do, what they should not do. All these are part of our countermeasures. And if you are very good at that countermeasures, then definitely your systems will be at less risk, and you should be able to safeguard that system and provide a very good environment for that. Now, looking at the countermeasures in a different perspective, because I have layered them in such a way that you can easily understand. No, we have seen the data, we have seen the classification, we have seen that we have the organization, for any organization, the data is a vital resource and they cannot compromise on the particular data. And when they have this particular data, they have to look at certain countermeasures so that they can provide security. What are they? One is called the access control list. Who is going to access what? Are we going to allow every data to be accessed by everyone? Give some kind of a levels of authorizations, levels of privileges for each and every individual, each and every level of in their organization chart by which they'll be able to access the data. So the access control list has to be properly redefined. And then we are talking about how to safeguard our data from the digital access or a kind of a cyber attacks, and that's where encryption can be used. And I know many of our old techniques of encryption like the RSA and others are still being paramountly used, right, for encrypting of our data. And that's where you have to try to provide the best encryption mechanisms, right? Because now we have the best processing. Please remember, earlier we are using some talking about an 8-bit or 16-bit or 32-bit. Now I am talking about some 256 bits or 1024 bits of what you call keys that can be used for encrypting of your data, right? Because we have the best processing facilities now. Now we know that this particular data will be used by applications. Now, when applications are using data, you have to look at how you are going to harden in them. What kind of an antivirus that you're going to use so that no the attacks can be stopped, right? Any virus attacks or malware attacks can be stopped, that this application data will be hosted onto a host or a particular system. So when we are using the host, we have to look at what kind of an operating system that it is using. Have you hardened that operating system? Which means that hardening is very simple. Hardening is nothing but closing that particular loopholes which are there in that particular system. If I take a very simple example for those non-IT people to understand, Windows XP and Windows 10. Which one is better? Definitely, you say the latest version Windows 10 is better, and there is no support for Windows XP because they have seen that lot of exploits have happened on the Windows XP operating system. But Windows 10 is also having certain exploits which have been patched up, and you get recent updated information from the what you call the providers website for any patch up. So we are talking about hardening of that operating system. We are talking about patch management. We have to look at the host intrusion detection systems and host intrusion protection systems which are there. Then we talk about the network. Now we know that we are having a network very good. We have thousand systems. How we are going to have it in a single network? No, you're going to segment them. So network segmenting is required. Then you are allotting some IP addresses for each and every network. We have a public IP, you have a private IP. You'll try to identify or segregate that particular network where you have the data systems or the what you call the data centers will be separated from our internal network. And then we talk about perimeter security. The perimeter security is nothing but having some kind of a wall, a secure wall between your internal network and external network, and that's where the firewalls comes into picture. Then we talk about virtual private networks, where when people wants to access your data from outside, they should employ some kind of a virtual private networks which are more secure than the normal networking conditions. Then we talk about intrusion detection systems and preventive systems which are required for the perimeter security. And apart from this, many of us will always feel that physical security is not required. Please understand, physical security is also very much required as our logical security. Physical security means where we have a security guard verifying the identity of the individual entering into the premises. Then within that particular premises, we should have some kind of a locks by which you can identify those particular people entering into their only cubicles. They cannot enter into others cubicles, right? Where suppose let us say we have people who are working on the data center. The data center people should only be accessing the data center guard. So you should have some guard for that, locks for that, and there should be some tracking devices by which we know which person has entered into which place and what was the level of what you call privileges that have been given for him to do that. All this comes under the physical security over there. And most important thing for any top management for that matter is the policies and procedures. Please understand, policies and procedures and awareness, user education is very much required with respect to what policies are being implemented, what is the security policy of that organization, how you are going to access your emails, how where you can access it, how what you should do, what you should not do. All this comes under the user education, which are the countermeasures for the technology and for you to understand how we can safeguard the complete what you call infrastructure that is available to us. So I will not go in depth of what is this particular firewall and intrusion detection systems since the presentation will be shared with you. The most important thing that you have to understand that the firewall needs to be configured in such a way that your system will be foolproof and no incoming and outgoing data will not be bypassing the policies that you have defined for your firewall. And these are some of the examples of the top IDS softwares which are available. Some are free, some are commercial, which can be used. These are freely available. You can just go through that. Now, coming to our critical infrastructure, we have seen that the critical infrastructure for within our particular any country would be the banking and financial sector. It can be defense sector. It can be the energy sector. It can be transportation, the water and health, all the communication, the space, education, research. All this comes under the critical infrastructure. Now, what are the different cybercrime threats that are there for this particular organizations? Definitely, you know that there are several kinds of malwares which have been introduced, and the trends that will be there is ransomwares are the rise in the ransomware attacks, and there are several organizations which are which are one of the victims of this particular ransomware attacks. And as you know, the I don't know whether you all of you know this or not, the government of India is having one institution which takes care of the critical infrastructure of the government, and it also advises the non-government entities also like the private sectors and all with respect to the kind of threats which are there, what are the vulnerabilities that they have identified, and also gives us some advices so that they can mitigate those particular threats. Can anyone name that organization? Any one of you? Yes, sir. Anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. They are posted in the chat box, sir.
Okay. Any answers? I am not seeing the chat box.
Certain.
Very good, very good. So claps for all of you who have answered. If we call it as Computer Emergency Response Team of India, this CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, if you just go to cert-in.org.in, you can see a lot of information with respect to the kind of vulnerabilities it has identified in the present and the using operating systems, as well as with the kind of ransomware attacks which are happening, as well as it also gives you some kind of an advices like how to can safeguard it. As you know, when the Petya ransomware has attacked the whole of the world, it has and then the CERT was very proactive in giving the advice, and whoever has not followed the advice when they were using the same old Windows XP operating system, those particular systems were attacked, including the several organizations. Examples is in Tirupati, the TTD was also having the Windows XP operating systems which were attacked, and a lot of data breach has happened. So there are a lot of threats which are there, and the ransomware, the phishing attacks are increasing, the web application attacks are increasing, secure socket layer encryption threats are always there, advanced persistent threats. These are very, very what you call mind blowing, I would say, the advanced persistent threat. I'll take a simple example for you to understand, and it is openly available. I would request each participant to go through that. Just study the case of the Cosmos Bank. Cosmos, COSMOS. Cosmos Bank is a leading banking institution where an attack has happened, where it has lost some crores of rupees within a fraction of a period. Now, why that has happened? Because there was an APT, advanced persistent threat, which has happened, where the attack was not done just in a second. It was right analyzed, right, and attacked over a period of almost 6 months. And once they have done that, they are able to snipe about some crores of rupees, right? And they were not traceable, right? This is Cosmos Bank. You just read in the internet, you'll able to know the one very good example of advanced persistent threat, which I always talk about in my advanced what they call trainings. Next is we are talking about this artificial intelligence and IoT. Artificial intelligence, as you know, was there from the beginning, and now it has been widely used. And most of the applications are also coming out. Talk about the driverless cars or whatever the examples. We are talking about systems which can think like a human, right? And Alexa is another example that we can talk about. But when we talk about this artificial intelligence, the same thing which is used for the advancements in the technology can also be used against that particular technology, and that's where the attacks can also happen through the artificial intelligence. Mobile malware is increasing, right? Crypto jacking is increasing. Bitcoin's popularity is increasing. But please remember, friends, Bitcoins, which are the cryptocurrency in India, does not have any legal tender. And there's a lot of frauds which are also happening with this particular cryptocurrency, right? And the attacks are also increasing day by day. Now, when it comes to the primary causes of the breaches, yes, definitely, this is the analysis which is done by the P Cloud, and the source is from the P Cloud, where we have seen that they have found, most of the organizations have found the kind of breaches which are there. 52% of them found when there was an audit assessment done. And that's why we always promote that every organization, small or big, has to go for auditing of their resources, auditing, security audit of their resources, do some kind of an assessment, internal assessment, or with an external assessment or the third party assessment. Because with internal assessments, most of the people will not come out with the reality. And with the third party assessment, definitely they will also come out with the reality, like what are problems that are existing and how to mitigate them. Then we are talking about 47% where an employee has identified some kind of a breach within that organization while he is working on that. And sometimes the patients have complained, or the clients have complained about the some kind of breaches which are there. As you know, there is also a big competition which happens in most of the world. We call it as capture the flag, and that's where there were several hackers who try to compete with each other to find out more number of vulnerabilities and get more money as a bounty, right? So this is also there, and you can also what do you call, encourage your children, encourage your students to participate in such kind of a big bounty competitions where they can tune in their intellectual capabilities, and that's where we'll be able to produce more number of cybersecurity professionals for India. Right, as you know, the common reasons that is there is that 46% of them are lost, stolen, computer devices by which the breach has happened. Right, employees mistakes 42%, third party 42%, critical attacks 33%, technical system glitches 31%, and 8% as intentional non-malicious employees action. So these are some of the analysis that you can understand how it is happening. And please remember, the when it comes to the trends in the cyber crimes and the cyber attacks, we are talking about ransomware, bitcoins, darknet, voice over IP, right, Tor browsers, and having the same IME number is also the different kinds of cyber threats which are there, and 60% are related to the financial frauds, 10% are related to email hijack and malicious frauds, and most of them these days has increased, which is 30% of them is the social media frauds which are there. Right, and what are the different challenges that are there with respect to this cybersecurity is that, as you know, the threat is changing. We are saying that lot of changes are going to happen. The threat vectors are changing. Artificial intelligence is going to be used by the criminals to design the attack vectors. New kind of vector attack vectors can be created using this artificial technology, and we have seen lot of new technologies which are coming up, like big data. We are talking about IoT, we are talking about deep fakes. Deep fakes are nothing but where we are able to create some kind of a videos where it looks as if that it is an original video. Like deep fakes are there, and I think some you have seen in your WhatsApp where somebody talking about something else, right? When he is not connected to that particular culture of it. Next, we are talking about encryptions, because we have seen that the encryption in WhatsApp, everyone knows that WhatsApp is an end-to-end encrypted. We have seen lot of encryptions being used in most of the cases, and it is becoming a challenge for the LES. This is one area of research for the support to the LES. Then capacity building. As you know, in India, the capacity building is going at the minimum. There's a lack of capacity building which is there, where they are not trained. The people are not trained on the latest kind of threats which are there and how to mitigate them. And the experience gap will always be there. We have seen in most of the police departments all over India, where the people who are working in the cyber cells, right, they get transferred to the other places, and the gap will always be there. The expertise gap will be there. Legal frameworks are required. Inconsistencies are increasing, right, where there are procedures and registrations, as we are talking about the data protection bill. The data protection bill, once it comes to the picture, right, and we are going to have many facilities where the foreign entities has to set up their data centers over here and safeguarding our data, so that it will not be misused anywhere outside or stored outside our country and misused. And different community guidelines is also one big challenge, because as you know, when you look at the social media giants like Facebook and let us say the Instagram has a different community guidelines, and Facebook has a different community guidelines, right? So the platform guidelines are different, the community guidelines are different between one country to the other, and that's also one big challenge which has to be taken care of. Next, as you know, the capacity building is less, and public private partnership is very much required, and continuous awareness programs are very much required for the people working within the organization as well as for the people, so that the individual cyber threats can be avoided, and the collaborations between the departments, between the organizations, between the governments, between the what you call countries should be there to mitigate this particular cyber threats which are there. And as you know, most of the countries are coming to an understanding to fight against this particular cyber terrorism as well as cyber threats. And there should be some agreements between the states and the countries. Okay. Now, coming to way forward, definitely we have seen that most of the organizations, the top management has to demonstrate a very good leadership skills. And until unless they provide some kind of a leadership skills and a commitment, then it will be very difficult for the organization to implement a very good cyber security policy for itself. And capacity building is very much required, and regular trainings needs to be conducted for that organization people, as well as the IT and non-IT people who are working within that organization. And there should be some collaboration with the trusted public and private partners. Until unless there is some collaborations, it will be very difficult for implementing certain strategies. Next, developing some kind of a good incident response capabilities is also part of the story, where we have to, because the kind of mitigation that we used to use for the earlier days and the present scenarios are going to change. And better information security controls are required. Multidisciplinary approach is required, right? Legal frameworks has to be enforced, right? We have to develop some kind of a multi-staker, a multi-disciplinary approach. International collaborations are very much required, and raising awareness and strategic educational initiatives should always be there. Now, when we talk about the cyber crimes as it matter, which is also connected to each other, right? As of now, we have seen that the cyber crime can be defined as where it is a computer-related crime, where the computer is the target or computer is used as a target, right? Used for targeting others, and that's where the cyber crime on a cyber crime is nothing but a computer crime, where the target of the attack or the tool used to attack, or which is stored for the criminal activity. And as you know, this particular, when you talk about this cyber crimes, we have seen that there are different types, right? There are, can be categorized as a two. Type one is the crimes where the computer is a target, and the other where the computer is a tool to commit a crime. And in type 1, we have seen that there are a lot of other categories where unauthorized access, like the hacking and intrusion, modifying, deleting, destroying the computer resources, all this unauthorized access comes under that. Next is the malicious code, where we talk about all this malicious softwares, like malicious codes like virus, worms, trojans, spyware, software bombs. All this comes under the malicious code. The other is the interruption of services, like the DOS and DDoS attacks, where the denial of service computer services is done. Then a theft or misuse of services, where we have seen that there is what you call misuse and the theft of the computer resources which have been established for the authorized users. When it comes to the type 2, we are talking about content violations. As you can see these days, most of the intellectual property intellectual property attacks are happening. The military secrets are being what you call taken away by use of honey trapping. There are hate crimes which are increasing, child pornography, harmful contents, what not, any many things which are happening with their content violations. And when it comes to the improper use of communication, and that's where in the COVID times we are seeing there is an increase in this kind of activity with respect to improper use of communication, where the conspiracies against people are increasing, harassment is increasing online, cyber stalking is increasing, spamming, online money laundering, extortion, social engineering frauds, right? And then we are talking about the drug trafficking, which is also increasing because of this improper use of communication. And the other category that we have is with respect to unauthorized alteration of data, where we have talked about identity theft. We have seen online frauds which are increasing. Privacy is becoming a big issue. Sabotage of the critical infrastructure, right? Telemarketing frauds, electronic manipulation of the documents, and all this are being done. Now, why this particular why how this particular cybercrime can happen? This cybercrime can happen against persons like you and me, where there are some kind of a threats through the emails, creating some fake profiles, sending some obscene content over there. Cyber stalking is increasing, fake profiles on social media. All this comes under the cybercrime against persons. But when it comes to the property, we are talking about our hard-earned money. There are several kinds of frauds which are happening through phishing and wishing attacks, right? We have smishing also part of it. Then we have lottery scams, advanced romance scams, dating scams, whatnot. Many things are happening against a particular property of an individual. When it comes to the technology, we talk about DOS and DDoS attacks, as well as ransomware attacks comes under the cybercrime against the technology, against the government. Yes, cyber terrorism increasing, honey traps, where you have seen that the military people, the armed forces people are lured through the social media by honey tapping them. and collecting this what you call secrets, military secrets. And we have seen the infringement of the IPR, with intellectual property rights, the copyright violations. There's a lot of court cases which are happening between the companies with respect to the piracy of the particular software and so on and so forth. And all this comes under the classification. What is the motivation for that, for the cybercrime which is happening, which also comes under the cyber security domain? We have seen that the major motivation for the cyber crimes are because it is financial, right? Many of them try to do a fraud so that they get some monetary benefit from that, and they just do an identity theft very easily by which they use our identity for getting some kind of gains. I've seen cases where the fake loans are taken on by using the documents of another person, right? The extortion is happening, money laundering is happening. And apart from that, we talk about a political agenda which is there emotionally. Some people try to do cybercrime because of revenge, right? I have seen the matrimonial frauds which are increasing, the social media attacks happening on the women and children, where some of the women who are getting married have been stalked, and a revenge taken by the old lovers. All these are part of our day-to-day news that you see. And another important aspect which is really astonishing to understand is that motivation which is personal, because I have seen many students who are really interested in this particular hacking business, right? And I know most of our professors who have heard from your students saying that, how, sir, can I become a hacker? Right. So it's something like a self amusement for them for doing this particular thing, and they want to prove themselves. They want to create some kind of a technical proficiency, and that's where the role of a faculty also comes here, where you can tell them the actual path which they can use so that they can help the law enforcement agencies in implementing this particular thing, coming out with some kind of strategies like social media monitoring, finding out some kind of a tools, helping the LES in identifying the culprits and saving the victims. All these are part of the story where you have to channelize them towards that. And apart from that, we are talking about the criminals using the internet. Why they use the internet? Please understand, it's very, very simple. There are a lot of tools which are available on the internet, which are freely available, by which they can easily attack the people, right? And the return of investment is more. Can you imagine sitting at their place where the physical availability is not mandatory or not required? They can just sit at the home and attack anybody on the globe, right? And it is very easy to disguise them. It is very easy to disguise them, but don't worry, LES has the method to catch hold of them. And it is very easy to spread the viruses, spread the logic bombs, spread the malware very easily. And another challenges, as I was talking about, is the international jurisdiction, right? We don't have the very good MLAT treaties, called as mutual legal assessment treaties, between the countries. And many countries, if the perpetrator is in a different country and there is no MLAT agreement, it will be very difficult for the law enforcement agencies to catch hold of that particular people. And robust laws are very much required. Then only you'll be able to catch hold of the particular criminal over there. Now, I know that there are many issues that I can talk about with respect to cyber crime and all, but a simple example for all of you is that I'll just show you some examples over here. As you know, most of our activity has been captured by Google, right? Every one of you know. But for those who have not really explored the what Google can collect that information, we have seen that the browsers in the default format always collects a lot of information from us with respect to browsing history, with respect to websites that you have visited, how many sites that you have visited, right? How many times you have visited, what you have visited on that particular website, what are the videos that you have watched on our YouTube, what kind of maps that, okay, maps collect a lot of information, because the map even collects that information from second to second, from where you have moved from which point to which point, and what was the time that you have taken. And other information is also captured by the Google, or for that matter any browser. So here some of the tips for all of you is that you should always have a proper browser. Latest browser has to be used. Always try to see that the browser settings have been changed as per the requirements of your privacy. Always try to use a VPN, virtual private network, whenever you are trying to access anything that is very, very important or working on sensitive data. Always try to use a strong passwords by which your system can be safe, and never save the passwords on your browser. And always when you are accessing certain websites, always check for HTTPS. Now, another big question that most of you will ask is, sir, every website will not have HTTPS. Should I access it or not? Definitely yes, because if you are making any payments, if you are making any doing any online transactions where you are sharing your private information, privacy information, sensitive information, then you have to look for this HTTPS. If you are just accessing for some information, then you don't require HTTPS, right? Only when you are doing a financial transaction, you require a HTTPS. And this is one activity for all of you. I would request each one of you to do this particular activity today, where these are the some of the things that you can really astonish to see how much data is being collected by you. What like for example, what is myactivity.google.com/myactivity? You just open the browser, log in into the browser with your Gmail account, and just go to myactivity.google.com/myactivity. You'll be finding lot of information about you that you have been doing since years, which you feel that nobody is observing. The second thing that you can do is with respect to the Google Maps. And once you go through this Google Maps, you'll be astonished to see that how much data it is being collecting about you. And I would say that you can just stop your location access and all, then automatically you'll be safe, but not 100% safe, right? Refer to my first slide. And another one example to for every one of you is that I know that everybody's identity is at stake. What is our identity? Our identity is our email ID, our identity is our mobile number, and the third identity is our any government ID card that is given to you. Do you agree with me? Our email ID, our mobile number, and our government ID card, any government ID card like Aadhaar card, driving license, ration card, whatnot, is your identity. Because now, when you look at this Gmail, I think most of you are using this Gmail, right? Now, in Gmail, you have a paid version, unpaid version, and we Indians love anything that comes free, so we go for a unpaid version. Now, in this unpaid version, how much is the security? Very limited. But in paid version, we have more security. And when it comes to your Gmail account, it is your identity. So here you have to check whether your Gmail has been compromised or not. And for that, you can just visit this particular website, haveibepune.com. Am I loud and clear, sir? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Are
sir.
you
It's
able to
clear.
see are you able to see that screen? The URL?
Yes, sir.
Can you spell it out, sir?
Okay. There is a
Nahi, Baba.
code.
HIV have I
Have I
B
been? Yeah. PWNED.
any.com, because there may be some faculty who will be watching on their mobile and they'll not be able to see what
Yeah.
is the
Okay.
proper
Okay.
URL.
Okay.
And that is also one
It
kind of
started with
what we call.
semicolon. That's what, sir. That's what I was searching.
No problem, no problem, sir.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
here I'll be just typing my email address, and once I type my email address, immediately I'm going to get to know that if any problem is there with my Gmail. Please understand that. So I would
Okay.
request all the participants to check their emails. I know you'll be having some 4 to 5 or 10 email IDs where you can verify if it is pure, and if
Sir,
it is
sir, can
hello,
you zoom the screen, sir? Zoom it, sir, please.
you want to zoom the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, one. Okay, I'll just show you the practically what is it. Don't worry. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen, sir?
Yes, yes, I can see.
Okay. Right. And these days, most of the spear phishing attacks are happening where they'll try to identify the victim and they'll collect their email ID and they'll be just sending out messages to the email ID. I've seen many. Sir, can you switch off your mics? A lot of disturbance is coming. Right. Thank you. We have seen that several emails have been sent from the principal's mail ID to other mail IDs, which are fake emails where they have sent ask for certain money, right, or ask for some kind of favor. So all these are some of the things that are happening, which are part of the day, which we call it as a spear phishing attacks, which are happening a lot. And this is one example of a what you call a server which is already available. The URL like emkei.cz, which is generally used by most of these criminals for creating a fake emails, and we can also send it with an attachment. And that's how most of the malware is also spreads to this particular emails when you are not scanning the attachments over there. And the lot of other frauds are happening in the world. I will not go into each and every one of them. These days, the job frauds and the KYC frauds are paramount, and also the QR code. I know that many of you will be using this quick response code for making the payment, but there are several cases where the frauds have happened where people have just sent a QR code saying that we are paying back the money, but with these particular unaware people have just scanned the QR code and they have own money. So this is also some of the scams which are happening, and job frauds are increasing a lot. And just for your information, simple tips for all of you for to understand how you can secure yourself. As you know, you should always have a licensed operating system, have a firewall on, use a very good antivirus. Again, don't ask me which antivirus is better. Any antivirus which is given by a company where the regular updates are there, where the company gives you regular updates, and it also gives you what you call and advanced features like internet security, anti-malware, anti-ransomware, like parental control. Try to go for that particular antivirus and purchase it. Don't download anything free. Right? Nothing is free in this world, including today's session. You are sparing your time, I'm sparing my time, and we are interacting through the internet, right? And we are talking about system password should be proper, and always try to take the backup of your vital data. Definitely, I know you are having 1 terabyte of hard disk, but of this 1 terabyte, I know you will be surprised to know that your important data is not more than 100 GB. So try to take a backup of it and have a recovery disk for that. Now, as I told you, whenever you're doing any financial transactions with respect to securing yourself, always try to look for three things. One is the HTTPS protocol, the other is the padlock symbol, the other is a digital signature. And once you have these three, then only you interact with that particular website. Otherwise, don't interact at all, because you should be safe. And as I told you, while doing this online transactions, never use a open Wi-Fi. Always use your or believe in your mobile data only, right? And how to verify the certificate? This is one example that I can show you. Onlinesbi.com, because many of us doesn't know what is the proper URL where we can do the online transactions in SBI. And here you can double click on it. On the more information, you're going to get the certificate to whom it has been given and all. And as you know, for recognizing the fake and what you call official websites, always properly check the URL. And when you are accessing in your mobile, definitely you'll be facing certain problems, because in the mobile the font of the URL will be so small that it will be very difficult for you to identify what is a mistake in that. And when if any address starts with an IP address, don't website starts with an IP address, don't interact with it. And the other example that I want to talk about is your emails. Through your emails, the phishing attacks can happen very easily. I know that you are all what you call law-abiding citizens of this country, and you pay your income tax on a regular basis. You'll automatically get an email saying that we are from the income tax and we are going to give a refund. You can check your inbox. You have already got this email. And then there will be a link which says the tax refund form. And once I click the tax refund form, there will be a form that will be provided to you, and it will ask, please enter the details for to get back your money. And we are so happy that the government is going to give back the money to us. So what we'll do, we'll start filling up all the data without realizing. Cardholder name, date of birth, everything is mandatory. You've seen address, town, state, postal code, phone number, bank name, card number, expiry date, CVV number, ATM pin, and fastest finger first. Enter. Whenever you find some kind of a forms that are sent, whenever you are what they call filling up any online forms, please stop. Please stop, think, and then respond.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Your voice is not audible. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes. Let's take some question and answers.
Yeah, sure, sir. Dear participants, do you have questions? Please post it Otherwise, you can talk to sir directly by unmuting your mic.
Hello.
Is there any questions to ask? Participants, you can ask any questions to sir.
Yes, Arvind Kumar, you can, if you have any questions, you can ask. Dr. Vivekanand, Mahesh.
So I think no questions so far.
Anything
Sir,
in
if
chat?
anything, sir, dear sir, anything you want to share, you can share it, sir. Like
Right, right.
PPTs or any other this one sites or something like that. Any information you can, if you want to share, you can share it, sir.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'll do that. And the PPT will be shared with all of you. Don't worry about it. Another thing, if you have any questions, because I have 10 more minutes time before I go for the other meeting. So you can ask me any questions or you can put it in the chat box. I hope everyone has understood. Just type Y if you have learned something new today. If you learned something new today, I would request the participants to type Y. Single letter Y is sufficient.
Yes, sir. They're typing Y. It's good.
Yeah, somebody wants to ask some question. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, there is a question.
Yeah.
Let me see, just wait.
Can you read it out?
Oh, they were saying thanks to you, sir. Thank you, sir, for wonderful session, they said. And it was clearly structured and we understood. It's by Miss Apurva K.
Thank you. And
Then
you can just
Kirtana
connect.
says it's a nice presentation, sir, like that.
Okay. So you can just send, because we'll be conducting separate awareness programs also for all your college students. You can just send email to, yeah, if you have, even the organizers, if you have any questions, you can ask me. That is my email ID, iln.ravo@cyberpeace.net. You can send us a request email from your college for a separate session for all your students. Uh, and I think most lot of disturbance is coming from your end. Thank you. Yeah. So please, if you have any questions and all, you can ask. I'll be just here for 2 more minutes. I think we are taking 10 minutes break in between or 8 minutes break. I don't want to waste your time. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Right. I know you're all from the teaching background as well as from the government officials. Right. And we always tell people to question us. Right. Right. We ask some questions. You're free to ask.
Okay, I think no more questions, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Let us close the session, sir. Today's class session. So it was really a wonderful session, sir. It is very informative. I think all our participants might have got so much of knowledge today, and for sharing your thoughts, your experience. We feel very proud to have such a nice, wonderful lecture today, sir. And we hope in future also we like to have some more sessions more on this particular cyber crime and challenges and issues. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your presentation, sir.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful meeting you all. And I know the time was very less. Lot of information needs to be shared with you. So I was a little bit fast, but I hope everyone has got understood each and every point that I have made highlighted here. and together let us create a safe cyber society, cyber aware society. Thank you very much for inviting me for this faculty development program. Looking forward to interact with you on a different platforms sooner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Bye bye, sir.